Man, that UCLA schedule is loaded.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download, review. Thanks for your support. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And you're going to want tickets to all the fun events coming up on this UCLA men's basketball schedule, which is exactly what we're talking about today. The loaded schedule, where are their breaks, with a potential drop of the schedule early before the official release. What do we know before I talk about what might be? What do we know? UCLA, they play 20 Big Ten games. The women only play 18. The men get 20. They have their three West Coast hubs, two home and home against Oregon, SC, and Washington. And then they have the split of games where they play only on the road, and they have games played only at home. Okay, so they have 20. Those dates aren't out. They're still working on it. Somebody in the UCLA Athletics, somewhere in the Big Ten, they've got those dates pretty much almost ironed out mostly. TV probably making a big scratch at what they want to do at the last moment. Right now, we know that UCLA gets to play North Carolina in New York. They're going to play Arizona. They will play Gonzaga in the Clippers' new arena. And what John Rothstein was talking about with Mick Cronin, it was they're going to have New Mexico, which is a scrappy, fun Mountain West school to play. That's always close to tournament good. That UCLA, that's a good matchup. When you want to play and find some solid West Coast teams, you're going to bounce between San Diego State. You'll bounce between New Mexico, Colorado State. There's different teams you could go after, and that's where UCLA will go. So those are the mixture of your top tier games that you might play on the West Coast, right? So New Mexico, you got then Arizona, North Carolina, Gonzaga. Those are your highlighted non-conference matchups where you put the pedal to the metal and figure out if this UCLA team prior to Big Ten is top 10 good, top 5 good immediately. Those are the games you get to look, right? So neutral site, home, road, those are the games you knew about, and UCLA is going to calm down the travel outside of the contractual obligations to go across the country in the CBS Sports Classic to go play North Carolina, which will still get a lot of eyes glued to the TV for a big-time Bruin Tar Heel Classic game. Now, that's going to be quite a few games to look at to see, all right, can UCLA compete against other teams in power conferences or close to it or close games on the West Coast if UCLA is ready with the transfer power. Now, we look at what Bro Report talked about. They released something on their site about what they saw, not exactly a leak, but an early look. You see these schedules, having done games, these teams have 75% of their schedule, 90% of the schedule ironed out in like March. I'm telling you, when we're talking about Cinderellas and riding in brackets, these teams have their schedules out year in advance. Now, it's a little crazier with UCLA and a lot of these schools in conference realignment mode, so it's crazier, and UCLA's got to prepare for, we want less travel, we need home games, we want money, but we don't travel too far. A plane to Arizona, a plane to Vegas, that's the furthest they want to go, right? That's the furthest they want to go until Big Ten play, when they're jetting and flying and chartering all over the place. Okay, this is what Bro Report talked about, an early look at a schedule that is not finalized. And let me tell you, I've had inside looks at different schedules, all right, between different sports for universities. And there's games that get changed within a month, right? There's been games that have changed since the 4th of July to now that were on the schedule or no longer on the schedule based on the school's facilities used that day, based on schools' obligations, and maybe they just don't want to even come anymore or they don't have the opportunity, all right? So schedules can change. Now, this is an unofficial look based on Bro Report's article. Talked about they start the season at against Rider in Pauley Pavilion. Then later in the week, they play New Mexico in Vegas, all right? Short little plane trip. Then they get Boston around the corner. Then they get to play the week before Thanksgiving, Idaho State, Cal State Fullerton. Not really giving dates because you never know, things could change. They might change, whatever. It's a Bruin Classic, which UCLA means they want to host some games, get some cupcake victories. They're going to have their mid-majors. They want to get a decent crowd. It's not going to sell out. That's just what it's like in Pauley Pavilion. Holiday time, if it's not Kentucky or somebody coming to town, Arizona coming to town, or Gonzaga coming literally to Pauley Pavilion, it's going to be a hard attendance sell in those first few games. So prior to Thanksgiving, UCLA's one trip is to Vegas to play New Mexico. That's a good, solid neutral site game. That should help with your quad 1, quad 2 victories when you're battling with the net rankings and building up your NCAA tournament case. And it's not just making the tournament, even though UCLA didn't make it last year. It's to build up that resume that boosts what is a falling stock for UCLA. They brought in a top 10 transfer class, what I think should be a better overall class for 24, and UCLA is barely ranked in preseason top 25s as the 24th best team, and they've only fallen since those way too early top 25s have come out. And I'm thinking UCLA's got a lot of statistical production coming back after in the Big Ten with Andrews and Stefanovic and more. And you've got guys better at every position there a week, and backups better, and third stringers better. So already the doubts in their minds. Now, prior to Thanksgiving, they get another home game. It looks like it's Southern Utah. So quite a few cupcakes in a row after the New Mexico game. And you never know which one of these mid-majors is going to come out of nowhere, have a scrappy game, have those teams that are NCAA tournament good, or not realize it and get better late and go do things, right? Yeah, I think even USC last year lost a couple of games. Think about UCLA. They lost at home to CSUN last year. So it's not they should be cupcakes. They're bye games. Rothstein's going to tweet out the epitome of brutality when you lose a bye game. So nothing's guaranteed, but those are games UCLA should win with the roster they have. It finally gets interesting when I've counted 10 non-conference games. We haven't gotten over all of them yet. 20 non-conference games. That's 30 games. Not sure they would add much to this pre-developed schedule, not fully about to be released. From what says to be pre-Thanksgiving to the middle of December, final season, get guys with good grades in the winter, fall quarter so they can play in the next quarter and not have to worry so much about crazy grades. They got to get their grades in good during the first quarter, and then they can go play more and more during the next half of the season. There's no games scheduled, it looks like, Thanksgiving to December. I'm thinking, hey, they have a Bruin Classic. That would generally mean a hosted Thanksgiving Classic. Then they would have what I would think is any games. No, they went to Maui. They've gone to have some fun trips in recent years. They went to Spain, Maui in the same year. All right. Ridiculous. And they don't want to travel. So those Thanksgiving tourneys, with all the conference realignment, UCLA might not be as interested in creating weary legs during winter, Christmas, holiday trips when it's like, I'm good. I don't want to make that trip right now. So unless that's something I'm missing, that's not in there, they're working on it. That is 30 games with 2.5 weeks off prior to an Arizona game. All right. That is what stands out to me. 2.5 weeks off potentially before they play Arizona in a neutral site game in Phoenix, which Wildcat fans are going to sell out and make it fun. I would think that would be a hyped environment in Phoenix in a mid-Saturday tilt on December 14th, which is supposed to be a top-tier day in college basketball. I forget all the crazy games, but that's supposed to be a great day of college basketball, which signals the end of the college football regular season, heading into the first season of college football playoff season. Yet here, that will be the big day of non-conference college basketball games that turns our eyes back to the hard court. After that, then you've got your schedule of Prairie View A&M, a home game, last non-conference one of the season, and then North Carolina, Gonzaga, back-to-back, New York, Los Angeles. So from December 14th to 28th, a 2-week stretch, you go to Arizona, back to LA. You go to New York, all right, back to LA. That's a lot of travel for UCLA in a 2-week stretch that should prepare them and give UCLA Mick Cronin an idea of what it'll be like in Big Ten play. This is what Bruin Report posted. A lot of the big games we already knew. New Mexico probably was going to be a neutral site game. North Carolina in New York. The Gonzaga game was signed to be in LA, like it'll be in Seattle in the next season. And Arizona, it's part of an agreement that is going to be UCLA, Arizona playing the next few years. Not every season, but next few years, mostly consecutively. So I think unless something changes Thanksgiving, unless I'm just completely missing something, huge break, big game, and December is where we figure out what this team is made of. November, UCLA should be 5-7-0, whatever it is. And then it gets crazy. Then we'll learn what the team's made of. By the time the new year rolls around, we'll have good vibes, bad vibes. We'll find out, okay? That is what the schedule looks like. Loaded with a break in its last 2 weeks of December where we learn this team post-quarter, post-finals, mostly how good this team should be with the transfers and the freshmen and the returners. All right. Speaking of good things, though, DeShaun Foster, big chance honoree, Hall of Fame member. For what? We'll tell you next on Locked On UCLA. It's a loaded schedule, I know, whether it's football, college basketball. Gametime is the place. Ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. It makes getting tickets faster and easier with those prices that go down closer to first pitch. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, all what you need with the lowest price guaranteed. Takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Gametime. This is what you do. Last-minute deals, 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Also, all-in pricing. I know you get ticked off like I do. And if you don't, you should. You sit there, you're like, I'm going to buy a ticket for this event, whatever it is. And you're like, it's $30 more per ticket or something ridiculous? No. You go to Gametime, you know exactly what it is, toggling the feature that says this is the all-in pricing. I know what I'm going to pay. I don't have to guesstimate. Then they've got the lowest price guarantee. Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Lowest price guaranteed with your last-minute tickets. Gametime. All right, I thought, let's talk some football, right? What does DeShaun Foster in the Hall of Fame have to do? A legendary Bruin, got to the NFL, longtime running backs coach for UCLA, was going to bolt to the Raiders, and now is where there's another honoring of DeShaun Foster. What does that mean? Well, earlier on August 6th, this was posted in an evening. This is being recorded the day after this was posted. The Tustin Football Club, all right, Orange County, the Tustin Tillers is inducting DeShaun Foster into its Football Hall of Fame. They're going to recognize his exceptional contributions and achievements, both on and off the field, on Friday, August 23rd. It's going to be during halftime to celebrate his great legacy. So DeShaun Foster is getting inducted into the Tustin Tillers Football Hall of Fame. What it says in the release, DeShaun Foster, known for his outstanding campaigns leading the nation in rushing and scoring, left an indelible mark on Tustin High's football legacy. His remarkable career as a standout player and now head coach of UCLA football has inspired generations of athletes and continues to resonate within our community. This is the Tustin release. Join us for the celebration as we celebrate his induction, DeShaun Foster, into the Tustin High School Football Hall of Fame on Friday, August 23rd, where they'll pay tribute to his remarkable achievements, and they're going to extend his contributions. Congratulations, warm regards, and that was by the president of the Tustin Football Boosters. So that's awesome, right? Cool, get your head coach talking, and this is where the connection to Southern California, right? I'm just getting fired up thinking about this. All right, exceptional, boom. This is a connection that Chip Kelly just doesn't have. He can't come down to the SoCal athletes and be like, I was a Hall of Famer. And many coaches, quite frankly, head coaches aren't going to be connected like DeShaun Foster is, right? Yes, different coaches are connected, but Hall of Fame, SoCal football player, reached the NFL, coached a long time in the college game. It's important to notice that. Chip Kelly couldn't connect with players like that. The joke was when he went to Ohio State as the offensive coordinator, met most coaches, met more players the first time recruiting than when he did as a head coach, when it was a big part of his job that he just neglected. Now DeShaun Foster can point and say, hey, my grassroots are literally in our backyard right now. I know Orange County is a little different than Los Angeles, but Southern California, the LA Orange County market breeds so much talent. When you look at Bosco, which is closer, right? Bellflower right there. You've got Mater Dei in Santa Ana, Orange County. He knows that market. And then you look at the Trinity League. You see some top-tier LA City talent, although the city section has been losing talent to all the big-time public and mostly private schools, mostly private Catholic schools, or sometimes OLU. This is where DeShaun Foster can connect to these local kids that are in his backyard, right? Nehemiah Johnson, a local offensive lineman that committed to UCLA, the most recent class of 25 commit, I believe, was an Orange County guy, all right? And now he doesn't need DeShaun Foster to be an alumni of Mater Dei or St. John Bosco, but being able to connect, say, I'm a Hall of Famer. I played football right here or in this backyard, gives them so much more credibility, understanding somewhat of the area, although, demographics change. Teams are no longer as good, and teams that were terrible are much better. Competitive equity is a big thing in high school sports now in Southern California. He can connect with, hey, this is where I played my high school ball. That's where I played college ball. And I still made it to the NFL, all while doing it locally in the state of California during a time, large in part, where there was no Los Angeles football teams. All right? When it was just UCLA, no NFL teams, UCLA and SC, but of course, all that matters is UCLA. He locally, boom, 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 dominated. Seeing the Rose Bowl when it was packed and playing some top teams that are now Big Ten teams, leading UCLA to big victories in the Rose Bowl. And the joke is they're not quite frankly going to make it with a lot of fans in the Rose Bowl. Forget that. That is the connection and the awesomeness that DeShaun Foster can bring to what UCLA has. All right. So that is the big thing. He is going to the Tustin Football Hall of Fame on August 23rd, when UCLA is a little over a week before they head, well, maybe not a week, but they will be heading to Hawaii, resting, recovering, flying out, having buys, and then preparing for the rest of this season, which gives me pleasure. I believe, looking likely that I might be on a couple of these UCLA road trips. No, I'm not going with the team, not going exactly with the team, but you see some people, they'll be flying, they'll be making the trips across the country. No, I'm not going to Hawaii. I've seen that football complex. It's whatever. It's not Aloha Stadium, which needs to be renovated for it to be a big-time football atmosphere. Been to Hawaii. Okay, cool. Might be seeing me on the LSU trip. Might be seeing me a little later in the year. So I might be making a trip or two to go watch and cheer on and cover this UCLA team all in one fell swoop. All right, so be careful. It'll be a fun year to stick around for UCLA football. So stay tuned, right? That LSU trip looks like it'll be top-tier amazingness. All right, excitement from top to bottom, everything in between. All right, now we're going to talk about next segment, a softball transfer coming to UCLA. We'll talk about that next on Locked On UCLA. All right, cruising on to the final segment of Locked On UCLA. We're talking UCLA softball, right? We're talking let's get down to business with the team that finally made it back to the Women's College World Series after a terrible upset in 2023. UCLA did fall to Stanford. They couldn't beat Oklahoma, but the Bruins got back to Oklahoma City, and now they're trying to build for a team post Maya Brady. That's a big thing, right? That's a big key cog they're missing. And yes, there's more. But where we're going with this is, what is UCLA bringing in? What are they bringing in on a big transfer that they just announced on August 7th? Well, what they're bringing in is Jessica Clements. All right. She was the 2024 Big West Player of the Year out of Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. That's someone who was a Conference Player of the Year, NFCA West All-Region second team, ranked third in the NCAA and had a program single-season record with a .464 batting average, 71 hits, 11 doubles, 4 triples. Doesn't bring the pop, brings the stick to get base hits, gets on base, and that is what UCLA needs, right? They had a lot of pop from Brady. They had a lot of people who could hit it out of the yard, right? Charlize Palacios. But you want guys and obviously ladies. You want ladies who can come in and players who can come in, get on base. When you're facing the Heat, when you're facing the best players, that is what people can do. That is what UCLA can do in this day and age, right? Moving to the Big Ten, they should dominate this conference in softball. Most importantly, they've got the NIL deals. There's going to be the increase of scholarships in sports across the board. What UCLA can do is they can go to a team's best player, a conference's best player, for a team and a university on the rise and say, sorry, we will buy your best player. And most likely they'll play and they should start, but they could also be a bench player, right? A couple years ago, they had a player who was a top-tier Big West right-handed arm in the circle for UC San Diego. Now they're at UCLA, even though they didn't have a good season, right? That is how it goes. All right, we're going to get you. We're going to get you. That's what UCLA was doing at the end of the Pac-12 era, stealing Arizona products, Oregon products to fill out the rotation, fill out the rest of the lineup card. What Clements, as the 5'8" outfielder, Big West Conference Player of the Year, Kelly Inouye Perez, current UCLA head coach, says Jessica will enroll in our elite John Wooden's transformative coaching and leadership master's degree program. She'll make an immediate impact on the field with her great athleticism, speed, strength on defense. Welcome to the Bruin family. She is the program's career batting average leader, hitting over 400 in her career at Cal Poly, top 10 in the Mustang record books for steals, close to 30, runs scored, 97 runs scored in her career, and a 3-time NFCA West All-Region selection and All-Big West first-team member, all right? She was the NFCA Division I Freshman of the Year, top 25 finalist, and was the Big West Field Freshman Player of the Year in 2022 when she led the conference with a measly .396 batting average that year, all right? A career fielding percentage close to .980, only 5 career errors in 3 full seasons as a player in 241 chances. So she can field it. She can do what she needs in order to get on base. Now let's take a look at what UCLA has this year. Obviously, competition differences. Maya Brady hit .418, one of those two, if I can even see. No other player for UCLA hit over 400, all right? Unless you include Alexis Ramirez, who played 5 games and 11 at-bats. Maya Brady was the offense, was the pop, second on the team with 17 home runs, led the team with RBIs, had an on-base percentage of .500, and got on base with a batting average of .418. You're bringing in a top 3 batting average, a conference player of the year, and that's already coming with the top-tier freshman class. That I'm just forgetting off the top of my head right now. That is what Kelly Inouye Perez has riches upon riches she can use to bring this team into competition where Oklahoma has just dominated, unfortunately, the last few years, the sport that is hosted in their own backyard for a championship. Now UCLA is wanting to compete as the only school to have beaten Oklahoma in the last 5 years in the championship, in the Women's College World Series, since COVID. Bringing in Clements isn't going to fix everything, but it is a huge piece to the puzzle. UCLA had a total of 6 players with batting averages over 300. Then you bring in some players who were replacing outgoing players. That was a clear, easy fit. West Coast, beach weather, make it make sense. It makes a lot of sense. And if you're going from Cal Poly to UCLA, the NIL opportunities, the enhanced exposure helps drive your career, your opportunity further and further along. All right, Cal Poly doesn't have extra master's programs. They don't have a lot. So when it comes to somebody who's probably been there 3 to 4 years, adding on to your career is a little tougher to do at Cal Poly for a 4th, 5th year, unless you're an engineering major. You go to UCLA, plenty of master's programs. She's enrolling in the John Wooden coaching, transformative program right there that I mentioned a few minutes ago. You bring in the fit Talent-wise, it's a fit all around. That is how UCLA burns teams. And unfortunately, in this day and age of NIL and transfer portal, you're going to lose a lot of talented players on mid-major programs like this. And there is a world where for some reason it doesn't pan out and she doesn't play. That's what happens sometimes when players go move, it doesn't pan out. Where you could have been a baller at your own school, you've been a legend, you move, you make the move, you get the NIL bucks, the scholarship opportunities, the schooling opportunities for some still, as the student athlete grows less and less, a term that really fits this day and age of college athletics. It's a fit. For a team that was 43-12 last year, national seed, hosted a regional, super regional, got to the final 2, 3, or 4 teams in the tournament last year. And with the Riches, they're going and getting the best players. Softball, they can do that. Women's basketball, they've been already getting top-tier recruiting classes, although Close versus Lindsay Gottlieb is only getting more and more intense. And UCLA softball should hopefully dominate the Big Ten. That is what I think in my mind, which is why we're going to end this episode with an excited 8 clap and get ready to go. All right. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA. Fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.